Steelhead is my favorite fish to target here in British Columbia. You can find them in rivers. They are an anadromous rainbow trout that will spend their first part of their life in the river, and then they will eventually make their way to the ocean, and then when they're ready to spawn, they'll come back to the river. Because of all this traveling and the food in the ocean, this helps the steelhead get very big, a lot larger than rainbow trout themselves, which makes them a lot of fun to target and excellent fighters.
Kitty with a steelhead. Okay, let it run. Oh! Let it run, let it run, let it run, let it run.
So when I was younger, I didn't fish a whole lot. I fished here and there with my dad for rainbow trout out of stocked lakes around Langford. It wasn't as hardcore as I would later experience when I met my husband Daniel. And when he went to VIU, he did a lot of fishing and continued his steelhead journeys out there. When I first met him, I would watch him fish, and I would watch his friends fish, and I would watch them catch fish, and I would just be the camera girl and just would follow along. He'd always make the joke, like, if you ever want to see me, Kitty, or if you want to spend time with me, you gotta come fishing. I didn't think he was really serious, but I took that as a challenge to try fishing his style, his way. And so my very first fishing opportunity ever was targeting summer run steelhead out of a small remote Vancouver Island river on the fly.
Turn it around and let him go out in the water. Awesome!
Then we went on to winter steelhead, and I still remember my very first trip out. He said to me how hard it was, and that these fish are elusive and they take a lot of time and a lot of hours to catch your first fish ever. And even after you've caught fish, they still take a long time and a lot of effort and know-how. And I do remember that very first trip I went out and I caught one. And at the time I didn't know any better. It was a fish, but it was actually a summer run fish out of the Sprout. And I remember getting it to the beach and Dan's like, no, that's not a winter steelhead. And then it was a couple casts later, not very long, I got a winter. And I remember I was so excited for both. They were both hatcheries, and we ended up taking them out on a stick. And that was my very first winter steelhead. There are many aspects of steelhead fishing that I definitely enjoy, and it's not just about catching the fish. You know, people ask me, what did you do on your weekend? What did you do on your winter break, your spring break? And I always answer it with fish. I went fishing. But fishing doesn't mean that I'm standing on a shore, casting out. Doesn't mean I'm in a boat, sitting there waiting for the fish to bite. I'm the one that's always looking for the fish and going to them. They don't come to us. And so fishing, it encompasses so many different things, not just casting, retrieving, hooking fish, landing fish, releasing. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. This particularly applies to steelhead fishing. I definitely know that many of you have asked Roddy and I to film a steelhead video, and it's not as easy as it may seem, especially since we both live in different locations and it's hard to just meet up, let alone find the steelhead when we're together. But on this particular day that I want to share with you, I would say the conditions weren't ideal, for not only for the fish, but for ourselves as well. So there was a lot of walking, a lot of kilometers put on our boots, canyons that we walked into, canyons that we walked out of, and what made it even more difficult was the snow. So some days with fishing, the fish are around, and some days they are just not, and it takes a while to find them. We ended up getting a few bites from trout, but we didn't really see any steelhead at that point. So we were running out of time. I was running out of patience. I think so was Rod at that point. And we finally arrived at this one run, which typically holds steelhead. So I had a little bit of hope, even though we hadn't seen anything that day. I cast along the back, and my spoon started to swing. Thump, 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 thump. That nice walking speed water. And as my spoon was going across, it happened.
Oh, nice. Steelhead. Okay. That's good.
Oh, oh no! Right. No! Oh! These steelhead out of this river are some of the most toughest fighting steelhead that you'll ever encounter on Vancouver Island. They use the current to their advantage, they jump a million times, they fight until the bitter end, and that's what this one did. I will not quit. I'll keep going. And a few steps later, another hookup.
It's very cold.
Sorry.
No, that was my fault. I hope we don't lose it because of that.
That was netted. That counts. Oh! Oh! My gosh. Like, I can't do any better. When he went for the scoop, I think he hit my lure or he missed it and the fish just fell off. He was trying his best. He didn't purposely try to knock off the fish. I was not happy with him. When you go out every weekend and you put out all that effort and you try so hard and you see so much unsuccess, you're like, well, what did I do wrong? So I just saw like my steelhead season slowly slipping away and I didn't like it. Rod ended up going home early because the snow was so bad and he was worried about not being able to make it home to his family.
No fish today, but it's catch. That's the only thing.
That?
Yeah. We're gonna find the owner, right?
So he left, we went home, had food, reflected on the day, and then when I woke up, it was a snow day. So this teacher put the chains on the arse and we headed back to the river to try to redeem ourselves. And it went something like this. I have such mixed emotions towards steelhead fishing. Some days I love it, sometimes I cannot stand it, and I ask myself, why do I keep going out? But for some reason, I can't tell you why. I don't know why. I keep going back out every chance I get. As a kid, my dad showed me different opportunities to like music or art, band, and just never really stuck. But steelhead fishing will just always be a part of who I am. Thank you everyone for allowing me to share this steelhead experience with you. If you're interested in seeing more content, whether it's fishing, hiking, or foraging, make sure that you do subscribe to this YouTube channel. And you can also find other material on my Facebook and Instagram pages.